Read Into It with Robin, a virtual book club.
Hi everyone, I'm back with another book club, and today we're doing a book that is kind of unexpected. It's a Harry Potter, well, I shouldn't say it's a Harry Potter book. We're going to talk about Harry Potter, the series. I am going to invite Dr. Elissa Hellman on right now, and we're going to talk about, oh, there you are. Hello, hello. Few requests. I'm looking forward to kind of delving into this more unusual book club book. And when Dr. Hellman brought this up, actually, I was wondering what kind of therapeutic themes we would talk about. Hi. And I love what you suggested about, like, friendship and all different kinds of things that we actually could um, really get into. So it's always fun to talk about a book that you really like. And I remember actually seeing you post a porn picture like years ago. I don't know how many years ago it was, but I think you had dressed up as maybe Hermione.
Yeah, that was last year.
Oh, last year. Okay. I have no sense of time. Yeah, so that's a fun book. I don't know. When did you first read the series? Like, how long have you been a fan for?
Yeah, so I have a funny story with that, which is like why when we were like discussing this, I'm like, oh, it's one of my favorite books. So I was in my third year of residency when I think like the third or so not the third, the sixth or the seventh book came out. And in our third year, we do like a night float rotation where we're just like everything's pretty much done for the day, and we're just there like kind of covering. And as a third year, you get your own call room, so it was very exciting. And so maybe I shouldn't tell the story, but basically I was like, I'm reading Harry Potter. I can see the screen. I can see all the tracings of all the the babies and people in labor. Like I'll be reading Harry Potter because I'm starting from book one and I want to be done by the time this new book comes out. So I'll be watching the monitor and you call me if I need it because I have like my own call room now. And as a third year, you're more like supervising rather than doing. Anyway, so yeah, that was back in 2009. No,
Okay.
yeah, 2009.
Okay.
And so it's really just like, and I just felt like, I know it's like a kid book, but like it just felt so real and so I mean, not the magic part, right? I'm not delusional, but it just felt like the character development and the emotions that everyone was feeling, like you just like it brings you back to like being a teenager and like figuring out life. And I was just so struck by like the reality of the characters, even though it was in like
Mm-hmm.
a very non-realistic world.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah.
Yeah. And that's actually, I'm glad you're mentioning that because that's really what I want with this book club is like to kind of show that we can take any book and like there's something that you could relate to, some kind of theme. And this one like really had a lot. I
Yeah,
mean, the whole
a
series,
lot.
like there's so much, right?
Right.
So one of the things that had come up that I wanted us to talk about. Well, I mean, the friendship part I think is very interesting, the way that they help each other, right? But even before that, like the way the book starts off with like Harry, he's like he thinks he's a normal boy, right? And he's living a kind of not normal life, but in a normal regular
World.
person,
Yeah.
Muggle world. And then this huge shift happens, and all of a sudden he's like super brave and super courageous. And so I'm curious, like, what would you say? How do we differentiate between like being like reckless and having like values-based courage?
Um, well, I think, I mean, at least like in the book itself, like in the series and kind of watching that transformation, I think I think there's a difference of I don't think he was being reckless in any way. I think it was like he was a little bit like suppressed in his life of
Mm-hmm.
like I feel like this is kind of meaningless. No one likes me. I have nothing in my life. Like I'm just literally like being babysat by these like his aunt and uncle, right? And being tortured by them pretty much. And now, oh, now I have like meaning in my life and I get to explore because like I have people who are like me. I have people who like are encouraging me to like explore and do things that may have seemed more fearful, but really like now he's in an environment where he's able, like maybe that's who he was all along because he was so suppressed in his like boring muggle not supportive home that he grew up in.
Okay.
So I don't know. I don't think I think there's a difference between that. Like it wasn't out of recklessness. It was like I'm excited to like explore my new life where I feel supported.
Okay. Wow. That's like bringing up a lot of what I see in the therapy room, actually. Like people
Yeah.
who maybe had their emotions suppressed and then all of a sudden they're told, like, feel your emotions. And sometimes actually you can go like the wrong way. You can go like all the way and you're just like shouting out all your emotions. And it's like too much because it's like it has to be in the right setting, right?
Right.
Everything has to be in the right setting.
Well, I
Uh,
think he also had some really like Dumbledore was like really great at like letting him talk it out and feel it out and like process it.
mhm.
And I think that he wasn't just doing it all on his own. Like I think he had like good guidance. I don't know.
Yes, that's true. That's important, right? To have that like
Yeah,
supportive. He did have a lot of supportive people in his life,
yeah,
actually. And the interesting thing is also like talking about like fears and bravery. Like everybody was scared to say the word Voldemort. Like right, all the
yeah,
character. I mean, almost all the characters, and he would like blatantly just say like Voldemort. Like all the like he didn't have that same fear, which is really interesting, also, right? Like the way like you can name a fear. Like if you're able to name it, it holds a lot less power over you, which also is
right.
so deep.
But he's also like the one person who was like attacked, right, by Voldemort and survived, and not only
Mhm.
survived, but became like this somewhat of like a savior character in the books. And so he's like, been there, done that, right? Like, I'm not going to be afraid of him. Look what he did to me and look what happened. Like, I overcame it, and I'm the only person who like didn't die from this, or from any attack on him. So, almost for him, it was like no big deal. Like, I got this.
Mm,
I can do it
mm.
again.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's my
Yeah.
take.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah. Either however way you look at it, right? Either way, it's really him like showing up, embracing it, and like getting stronger from it.
right,
And
for sure.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
that's really cool. That is really cool. Okay, so I want us to move into the like relationships portion of it a little bit.
yeah,
Like Harry, Ron, Hermione, like they just formed this threesome like so early on, even though in the first book, or if you watch the movie in the first movie, like they didn't click in the best way right away, but like they really moved into a really nice relationship.
right.
And they like really stepped up for each other in different ways. So I'm curious, like, what's your analysis of that? What's your take on that? How would you relate that to like friendship in real life?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's almost like as we're having this discussion, I'm trying to separate. I'm trying to like get back into like the reading part of it. Are you still? I'm still on. Okay, sorry about
Yeah,
that.
we're good.
I'm trying to like get out of the movie part where I like like you see the characters and it's all Hollywoody and like all the stuff Hollywood does. So I'm
Mhm.
trying to get back into the books. But I think that I mean, I think Harry and Ron was a very natural
Mhm.
relationship, like a very natural like coming together relationship. They were kind of both like Ron was a little bit nerdy and so was Harry, and they were kind of like and like Ron was really sweet and welcoming just because that's what his upbringing was like with his parents and his family. You could tell that he was raised to like be that nice sweet boy, and he was. And like little like Harry like needed that like kind of comfort and like someone to like show him the ropes because he was clueless, right?
Yeah.
And I think it was just like a very natural like friendship that happened. um the Hermione was also like the personality thing, I think clicked like was a little interesting.
Mhm.
That you maybe not have expected like a Hermione personality to be super close with like a Ron and a Harry. I think she's just a little bit more like intimidating and kind of like I don't know, like not girly is what I want to say, but that's like a really not descriptive way to describe her. And I think that, but then if you like think about that, well, she also was a little bit like on the fringe. Like she wasn't this cool girl, and she
Mhm.
was like her smartness kind of made her a little bit like not ostracized, but just like a little bit out of the general like teenage circle, I guess. And so I guess maybe they were all a little bit like outsidery that they kind of I'm using really official terms here that they just all kind of came together kind of in
Right.
like a really good close natural way.
Right.
um Obviously like as the books go on and like they get older and more like into teenagerhood and relationshipy stuff. Like I think there definitely was all that like tension,
Mm.
developing there, and that kind of caused their little spats, I would say, especially with like Ron and Harry in book 5 or 6, I think it is. But yeah, I think it was like a wonderful relationship to watch, and I think it was very natural. Like just even thinking back to friendships I had, any kid, like thinking back in their own life, like it just seems like it was a very natural, normal, like wonderful development of friendships.
Yeah. Well, you know what's standing out to me? How she was kind of standoffish. Like you were mentioning, she was so intelligent, right? She's so
Yeah,
smart. And she was a little, I don't know if she was standoffish because of that, or maybe her know-it-all attitude kind of like put a wedge in there. Like they were like, oh my gosh, like, right? Like she had that
yeah,
know-it-all attitude. And so it's
right,
interesting how they came around to that. And also I'm thinking about like how in everyday life, like sometimes somebody can show up and like have some kind of attitude, but if you really know what's behind it, I don't know, maybe it's insecurity, maybe it's like really, really wanting to be liked and not knowing how to
right.
play it the right way. But it's
For
interesting.
sure. And I think they all kind of like complemented each other. Like what one was lacking, another one had or would encourage. I mean, look, they all ended up in Gryffindor, right? So they all were I think of the houses as like personality traits, like personality groups. I think that's kind of like how the sorting almost happens. Um, and they all ended up together. So there must have been a reason for it. So they kind of naturally, I think, did well together, but they all kind of, I think, complemented each other and helped each other out where they needed to be helped.
Yeah. Okay, well, you're bringing up the sorting hat, so this is also very
Yeah.
interesting because, like, is our identity shaped by our personality? Like, did the sorting hat just kind of group people by personality, or was it like their values and their decisions? Like Harry, like very consciously made that decision, like put me in Gryffindor. Like he like really wanted to be somewhere. So I'm curious, like, what are your thoughts on that? Like, do we tend to group together based on one or the other? Like, is it temperament or is it like values and decisions?
Right. I mean, I think that, well, temperament is different from personality, but I do think that personality, like, is shaped a little bit by your value system, right? Like, why is there such a difference between a Slytherin and a Hufflepuff, right? Like, they because their value systems are different, which
Mm,
then shapes the personality, right?
mm.
Like how what is important to you in your life is determines like what you're going to go for, or like our relationships more important to you, is like
Right.
getting the best promotion more important for you, like right, like they're hard to separate. um
Mm,
so I think that it is kind of really connect. The sorting hat really did kind of take the personality, or the value system and the personality, whether the kid knew it or not, right? Because they're getting sorted at 10 years old, right? So like whether they knew it or not, did the fact that the sorting hat told them where they're going shape that, like bring that out of them, and they may not have known those, like that courage, like for Gryffindor, like that courage trait. Did it take the sorting hat to tell them that I see that in you, and this is where you're going to be for the next 7 years, whatever, how long, right? 7 years. Or was it that they already, right? And they would not have really expressed that if they weren't put in a house.
right.
That's, I think,
Right. I don't know. It's very complex. Right. You're saying they're grouped in a certain way, so they must have like a similar. You're saying you really. What I'm hearing you really say is that a person's values are going to impact their.
like how they just act in the world, right? Like how
Right.
they,
The
what they do,
behaviors, I
right?
kind of want to say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Um, and and is that did that come out stronger because they were put in a house at the very beginning of their like self-development,
Right.
right? or or did they have it in them already? I think they
Mm,
had them in that already, and it would have come out, and that's why the sorting hat put them where it did.
mm, mm. Okay. Is this like the nature nurture debate?
Yeah, and I think there's the nature nurture debate in science. It's both. Like
It's
there
both.
is
It's
never
epigenetics,
one.
right?
It's never one or the other.
Right.
It's never
Right.
black and white. It's
Right.
always both, right? So I think that they are very connected at the end of the
Yeah.
day.
Yeah. It's interesting because I'm wondering, like, if we bring it into real life friendships, like, do you think most people are friends because they share values or because their personalities gel well, or it's both, really?
I think it's both. I really do.
Both.
I don't think you
Yeah.
can I don't think you can separate it. I don't think you can have people who are like close friends and have completely different value systems,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. Yeah. There's so
Yeah.
much food for thought, like you said before. Like it's a kid's
Yeah.
book, but like I read it as a teenager. I read it when I came back from seminary. Actually, I think it was like newish then, so it was like early
Yeah.
2000s, and yeah, and I just read like the whole series. And I actually didn't watch the movies for a long time because I felt like the movies would take away like the pictures that were in my brain, you know. But then,
100%. Yeah.
but then eventually I caved and I did watch. Not, I don't think I watched all the movies, but yeah.
Yeah. They're good. They're good.
Yeah, they are good. But I appreciate that I first had like the images in my mind. I appreciate that
For
I first
sure.
had
Yeah. I
like
won't
my
let my
own.
kids read, like they don't get to watch the movie until they read the book. Just
Okay.
because use your brain imagination.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, I'm all for that,
Yeah.
for sure, for sure. And then I will say also, like as a therapist, like you see a lot of attachment wounds in a lot of the characters also, like
Sure.
Sirius, Lupin, Snape, like they all relate differently to like attachment and loss. And so I don't know, I found that very interesting also
Yeah.
from an adult perspective, and a
Yeah.
therapist perspective.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, there's like so much. I mean, everyone pretty much, not everyone, but pretty much everyone has lost, right? Like in some way in their life, and which kind of parallels the normal world, like right, like everyone has
mhm.
lots of something or someone, or even if it's not like death, it's like with Ron, his brother, kind of like going off the death, right? Like kind of,
Leaving,
doing other things, right?
yeah.
So there, yeah, I think it's such a parallel to real life and just seeing like the different ways that people react to it.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And then also, like Harry never really had that background, right? Because he was orphaned as a baby. And it's really interesting to see how he grows into a role. So it also makes me wonder, like, do you think the external narratives shape identity, or like, how do we reclaim? Is the way that we behave based on the things people expect for us, or how do we reclaim our own story?
Right. I mean, I think that what your external story is really does affect you and I think initially like how you view it. And then
Mhm.
after that, like that's your life and your behaviors may be affected by it. And then I think as you maybe become more self-aware, I think you can be more aware of how your external story affected you and if you did things that or right like acted in a way or had a thought process in a way that maybe you're like, well, I'd like to change this, right? This is just due to something external. Like it allows you to then like move away from that.
Right.
um it takes time though. It takes age, it takes growing up, it takes like
Right.
learning processes, right, to
Yeah.
kind of get to that point for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Like that awareness, and like then you get to make the choice. So it's not necessarily something that's like automatic, because like you're saying, you're raised with like a certain maybe expectation or narrative or
Right.
whatever it is, and then as you get older you can like kind of become more mindful and like pick and choose what you really want to be like.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, which could be hard when things are like super ingrained in you.
For sure, right? And that obviously that's like from a therapeutic standpoint, I guess that's like where the work is, right? And starts with awareness of it.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah,
I'm actually curious if I don't know if there's anything on your mind, because I know like you had moved right in I don't know how many years ago it was exactly,
yeah,
but like
over to yeah.
two. So like also just kind of noticing, acceptance, conformity, friendships. Like I'm curious if you have any personal reflections that like kind of
Yeah, I mean,
connect.
I think like I just made a massive like transition like in the middle of my life, right? Like everything was like fine and like why change it? But to say like, hey, let's get up and do this, like little life adventure. And then just like seeing how it affects every aspect of your life that was just like status quo and then maybe becomes not status quo and changes and like long distance and um yeah, just like figuring out a new identity in the middle of your life and challenges that like you don't like language that like you don't need to deal with because you're like mid 40s and you like, why are you worrying about like speaking a new language, right? So just lots of challenges,
Mhm.
but all for like a good reason, I guess. So lots of self-reflection over the past 2 years for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah,
Yeah. But you know what? That connects so much to this book. Like if you think about it, right? Like Harry had this like upheaval. I mean, it wasn't in his mid 40s, but it was like
right.
coming of age and all of a sudden everything new, like almost like a new language, right? Everything new and
Yeah,
completely different environment and just kind of realizing what it takes to adjust and adapt to that.
for sure. Yeah. And that's why I just feel like these books are so like real life, right? In
Yeah.
a not
Yeah.
real world.
Yeah.
So I don't know, I connect to them so much.
Yeah. Besides that they're fun also. They're
Yeah, for
just
sure.
fun and well written and all that. But yeah, I love the fact that there's these like themes that almost anybody could pick something in their life that like maybe isn't going exactly the way they wanted to, or they went through a big change or whatever it is. And like characters in books that go through these things, like they're just relatable and like you
For
can
sure.
draw on what they used, what kind of strengths they used and like mimic that.
Right.
So
And it's, I think that's why they're so popular. I think people
yeah.
really like, even if they're not like fully aware of why I love this so much, it's like, it's
Right.
just, I think so many people connect to so many different characters on so many different levels. And that's why it just blew up into Harry Potter madness, like when it first came out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I have one more thought that I am curious to wrap up with. So Dumbledore really emphasizes like love as a form of power, and I'm curious, especially in your line of work, right? Like, how is love portrayed as an active skill rather than just a feeling? Meaning, love is a feeling, but I'm wondering, how do you see love as an active skill that is something people could maybe do, or how do you see love in action?
Yeah, I think, I mean, in my line of work as like a women's health OB/GYN, I think that you see like the active care, right, for someone else, whether it be in your uterus or out of it, right? I think that it's well, when I love someone, what do I do, right? And I take care of that person, like, and by take care of, I mean like physical needs, right? Like how do I make sure I have a healthy pregnancy, right? Because I care about my baby. Like when my baby is born, how do I care for that person? I'm just thinking like nursing and breastfeeding, like that can get really stressful and like cause a lot of angst and stress on the woman. But like, why is she so stressed and angst? Because she is trying to, like, she loves her baby and she feels like she wants to take care of it in this way, right? So
Mm,
I think it's a lot of like the manifestation of love is the doing, right? Like
mm,
I want to make this person who I care about and love like better by helping them and doing something for them. That's what I see most like in my line of work. Of course, there are like many ways, I guess, to show that love. It doesn't always have to be action. But I think we see it a lot in different ways in the books. Yeah,
yeah. It's and as the thing that also I'm thinking about how Harry's mom died, right? Like she was protecting him and she
right,
had so much love and like that really connects to what you're saying. Like when a mother wants to like give and do, but any woman, even if a woman is not a mom, just to be a giver, like to be able to connect to somebody through that way by actually physically doing something for them because the
right,
feeling of love is strong, but somebody might not know that you love them unless you're actively doing something. And so even a woman who's nurturing herself is important too. That's like self-love, right? And obviously if she's growing a child inside of her, then that's a different form of love. It's two in one, I guess.
right.
um, but yeah, yeah, so there's a lot from the series.
There's a
We're
lot.
kind of
Yeah,
like tapping on little points here and there, but
for sure.
um, yeah. But we can wrap up with that for today. I don't know if there's anything else that you had in mind, anything else that you want to share.
No, that's it. I just love them. I just love the books.
I just yeah.
So I'm always happy to talk about them.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
Well, thanks for joining me here. I'm glad we got to talk about Harry Potter with like a therapeutic lens.
yeah.
Um,
Thanks for having me.
all right. All the best. Bye
Okay,
bye.
bye.